Good afternoon, everybody. Thank y'all for being here today, and continue eating and enjoying that. And I'm excited about the topic today, and I hope it'll be helpful. I'm also excited that Dr. Bonner has joined us today. Some of you had questions at one point, and I tried to answer them, and y'all didn't believe me. So I said, maybe, if we have Dr. Bonner here, it just has more credibility coming straight from her. So I had just asked her if she would to talk briefly about distance education, or her thoughts.
Well, hello. I am delighted to have the opportunity to be at Lunch and Learn with you. I have wanted to come, and this is the first opportunity that I have had to join you. I am so proud of the work that is being done in our Center for Distance Education. Distance education is so important in the future of higher education. Thank you to each and every one of you who are interested in expanding what you're doing in order to include opportunities for our students to complete work through Mississippi State University wherever they may be. Dr. Seal told me that this past summer, enrollment in distance education, enrollment from students who were taking courses by distance education increased by 7%. This is so significant because our overall enrollment in summer was down. So that makes the decline even more significant when you realize that the increase in distance education was 7%. We simply must find ways to make our courses available to students wherever they are, whenever they want to take them, and to ensure the quality of the courses that they are taking. Our Center for Distance Education has the staff to facilitate and to make it easy. And I want to say, on behalf of Mississippi State University, thank you for what you're doing to take advantage of opportunities through the center. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bonner, and she'll be around throughout the program, so if you have questions. So today we are talking about quality standards. So what you should leave with today is you should be able to explain why quality standards matter, describe quality matters, be able to list the general quality matters standards, locate other professional development opportunities regarding quality matters, and then take the next steps of implementation. So that's kind of what we'll go through today. So why do standards matter? And that may sound like a silly question, but sometimes that kind of comes up. Why do we need standards? We're professionals, we have our courses, we all do great work, which is true. But obviously standards do matter. Now on your table is the policy from SACS regarding distance education. And I know everybody loves to read policies, so I just put a couple on there in case you want to reference it. But no, there is a distance education policy from SACS, the Commission of Colleges, and it's on your table there if you want to kind of look through it. Also, Tim Shamley was telling me that the proposed revisions to the principles of accreditation will be focusing more on distance education. What that means partly is that instead of 10 years, the interim 5-year report will focus more on distance. And it's not because all of a sudden they're finding a bunch of stuff wrong. There's just more distance education courses and programs out there. It's really become more mainstream. So obviously they're going to take a look at that. So SACS is one of the reasons it matters. Also, audits. You may have heard some in the news, even in our own state, but Western Governors University recently went through an audit, and The Office of the Inspector General recommended a $712 million payback. $712 million payback. Now, if you're interested in that and like, oh wow, what exactly was it and what are we doing? I've compiled, and I didn't print everybody one, but I've compiled the three basic findings from Western governors, and then also what we're doing so that won't happen here. The main thing with it, or one of the main things, was they said their distance education courses were correspondence courses. Financial aid does not cover correspondence courses. And it specifically had to do with regular and substantive interaction. Now, there's a lot of debate on what exactly that means, but what I would say today, if we follow what we're talking about, we're not going to be right on the edge and be that worried about the exact definitions. We'll be fine. But that's what that had to do with. So again, it's important from the audit standpoint. Then from a kind of a more positive standpoint, there's increased competition. More people have distance education courses and programs, which I tend to think is good because it's making it more mainstream. People are seeing distance education as a very viable, positive alternative, and they're looking for other programs, and there's a lot of noise and a lot of talk out there. But what that means is maybe we had the program for years, but we're not the only ones in that anymore. There are new programs, and so our quality standards need to be higher. We need to be, that's one way that we can have that competitive edge, is just from the standpoint of our classes are more interactive. They have better activities. There's more learning taking place. The students are going to really rate those very positive because of the quality of our courses. And so that would help us from a competition standpoint. And also, just the bottom line, the mission of Mississippi State is to deliver excellent programs. So just from a strategic standpoint, quality should matter. So you've got from the policy and punitive standpoint, you've got competition, and also just from our own strategic standpoint of why standards matter. So what is quality matters? We've talked about that. What does that mean? Well, first, there are several quality standards out there. Quality Matters and the OLC rubric are really two of the top. And so we kind of looked into it through a listserv on one of the organizations that we belong to. Most of our peer institutions, most of the universities are using Quality Matters. Some are even using both. The feedback tended to be that Quality Matters was easier to use. There was more support for that. And so we also worked with the Center for Teaching and Learning. We talked with ITS and the library about Quality Matters and the others. We decided on Quality Matters. I also took it to our Center for Distance Education Advisory Council, which includes associate deans, department heads, UCCC representatives, faculty senate representative, other faculty members, staff, and they also said, yes, we would support using Quality Matters as a standard. So that's where we came up with that as a joint effort across campus. So, what is it? It's a set of standards, a rubric basically, for the design of online and blended courses. The important word in there is design. It's not about delivery. Now, there's a fairly good chance if your design is really strong, the delivery is going to be easier and better. But this doesn't focus on delivery. It focuses on design of the course or program. It's a peer review process, faculty to faculty, for reviewing and improving online and blended courses. You can submit. There's several different things we can do. I guess the ultimate, would you call it, is having it Quality Matters certified course. And if you do that and go through the process, it is other faculty members like you who have become certified to be reviewers. You have to take some workshops and some training. You have to be prepared to do that. And then your course or your program would be submitted to these faculty members, and they would go through based on this rubric, give you feedback if there's things that need to be improved, so you can improve those and submit it again. Maybe you're in, say, chemistry, and I'm reviewing that, and I don't know if that's the right technological tool for chemistry or not. They're subject matter experts, so they would send that then to a chemistry subject matter expert for them to see, oh yes, this is a technology that we use in chemistry. So it's all faculty to faculty as far as looking at the courses and giving the feedback. And then it's a course development tool for faculty and instructional development staff. And then there's professional development opportunities. So it's a standard, it's a process, it's a tool, and then professional development opportunities. Just briefly about the history as far as the credibility of Quality Matters and where it came from. It was a collaboration of Maryland Online Inc. Consortium, basically to answer the question, how do we know our courses are quality? And we've probably asked that. Matter of fact, about this time last year when I first started doing this, people said, well, how do you know if all the courses are quality courses? It's a good question. So that's kind of where it originated. They received a grant in 2003 from the Department of Education. And then in 2014, they began operating as a standalone nonprofit organization. And then now there are over 60,000 members. You can go, I've got the website, the Quality Matters website up also. And I think it's under Why Quality Matters. There is a place somewhere on here that lists all of the other universities. I don't remember where it is. We'll find it later. But I looked it up this morning. Now I've gotten off my thing. And, you know, just looking in Mississippi, all 8 of the institutions of higher learning are members. Alabama, there's a whole list. So most all of our peer institutions are members of Quality Matters. Let me get this out of the way. One more. There we go. So it has a strong history. It's not new. It's a standalone. There's research. If you go over here under the research tab, that talks about Quality Matters, and it's not research done by Quality Matters. It's about other institutions. So you can look in there as well. So what is the Quality Matters role in this? Well, the first thing is they have the rubric that looks at course design. And we'll look at this in just a minute. But you all should have a brochure that talks about Quality Matters and includes the very general part of the rubric. As I said, it's a process for peer-to-peer feedback, and it's about continuous improvement. And it certifies courses and programs for meeting those standards. So it is not... Sometimes that's one of the most important things. What it's not is it's not about an individual instructor. So it's not going to come back and say, you know, you're a great instructor or you're a horrible instructor or whatever. It's about the course design. It's not about faculty evaluation. It's about the design and course quality. And it's about diagnosis and improvement. It's not judgment. So it gives you the opportunity to improve it. It's not just saying, well, you failed. It gives you great feedback. And I took one of the workshops, and you had to kind of practice doing that as a reviewer. And part of that practice was how to write instructions and feedback for someone that you're reviewing their course. You know, is your feedback, does it have these certain elements so that it would be helpful for them as they make the improvements for the course and to be able to meet those standards? So let's look at the rubric. If you would, just open it up to this first page, that first panel that's got the red writing on it. There are 8 general standards. And you'll see those 8 general standards there in red. Course overview and introduction, learning objectives, assessment and measurement, instructional materials, course activities and learner interaction, course technology, learner support, and accessibility and usability. So those are the 8 the general standards. Now, you look at the details, there's 43 specific standards. Like under that first one, under the course overview and introduction, there are 9 specific standards for that one general standard. So we have 43 total. Now there are 21 what they call essential. And if you'll notice out where it says points, they have 3 points by them. Okay? And then there are 14 that are very important. They have 2 points. And then there are 8 that are important that have 1 point. So what that means is as someone is reviewing this course, the Quality Matters review expectations are you have to meet all of the essential elements. So all those that have a 3 by them, you have to have met that in order to receive the certification. So that's the start. And if you look at what some of those are, it kind of makes sense. You know, instructions made clear how to get started. That's kind of important. You know, if your students don't know where to go to get started, it's probably not going to make the whole semester go well. I had somebody on campus in one of our meetings say, "Can I ask you kind of a personal question?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm not too sure." They're like, "Well, it's kind of a distance ed question too." But they said, "My son is taking this course in community college, and all he's done is take tests." And I said, "Well, how's he doing?" "Well, not too good, because all he's doing is taking tests." She goes, "Should there be more?" There should be more. And I said, and she said, "Well, we started digging a little bit, and we found some other things." I said, "Well, if you look, there should be something called orientation, getting started, begin here, you know, something like that." And that sounds so silly, you know, and simple to us, but you may just forget and leave it off, you know, so that's an essential one. And then, you know, you go all the way down and you can see what those are. So all of those have to be met. And then 84 out of the 99 total points have to be met. So 21 of the 36 remaining points, you have to get 21 of remaining 36. Now, how it's judged, again, it's not about perfection. It's about improvement. So if you're looking at one of the standards, they're going to look at that and say, is it 85% met? So they're going to look at your learning objectives and say, is that met 85%? And that's kind of the standard. Now, as a reviewer, sometimes it's hard to, you know, maybe with objectives you can look at it and do the percentage and go, okay, well, 85% of them are measurable and specific and all that stuff. But sometimes it's a little bit hard. That's why they have training for the reviewers to know what does 85% accuracy look like. So you got to meet all the essentials and then 84 total points for the whole rubric. Alignment. If you'll open up a little bit further and you'll see, this is what, if you get the workbook, this is the whole thing. It has examples in there for you. It has descriptions in there. And you'll see that red that says alignment. There are certain standards that need to be in alignment. And those are listed 2.1, 2.2, 3.1, 4.1, 5.1, and 6.1. All of those have to do with the learning objectives. You know, so you're going to look back and see Let's see, one of them is 5.1. The learning activities promote the achievement of the stated learning objectives or competencies. So that's got to align with when you're talking about your learning objectives, right? So those, and it tells you in your annotated information what exactly they mean by alignment. So this is a little bit different one than what you have, but this is the detail. They have workbooks, and I would encourage you to get one of the workbooks. It goes through and has definitions for you that may be helpful. And then it gives you, for every standard, you have what the example is in your handout. For every single standard, it gives you details of this is what we mean by this standard. Here's some examples. Sometimes it even gives you special situations. You know, it may say with learning objectives or objectives, maybe your university has general objectives that you're supposed to meet. But if those aren't specific to your course, you're going to need to obviously add course-specific objectives too. But it may give specific situations. It may tell you, here's an example of a bad one to show you, or here's how to fix that. So it's really helpful, and the workbook goes through all 43 of those standards and gives you all that detail that you see in your handout. It also has in the back a course worksheet, which is also helpful. If you're just kind of going through that worksheet, it kind of makes you stop and think, and I better double check that. Maybe, you know, before you ever even submit anything, a lot of times it kind of helps you answer those questions and go, oh no, I'm not too sure I did that one right. The workbooks are $20. And I think whether you get one individually or with your department, I would certainly encourage that. We talked about professional development. So these are some of the workshops that are also available. Applying the Quality Matters Rubric is a really good one. Now these all cost, so that's something you need to keep in mind also. But it goes through, it's one I was talking about, it goes through each of the standards, how to review it. Because if you can kind of learn how somebody's going to review it, it helps you when you're looking at your own course. Right? If you're learning how to review somebody else's, it's going to help you know how to look at your course, how to, you know, how would I evaluate this standard on my own course. But there's several different ones, and if you look on the Quality Matters website under professional development, it has different schedules. There's also, the higher ed obviously is the one that we're looking at, but they also have the K through 12, so you may want to look at specific for higher ed there. There's web conferencing workshops. They have conferences, annual meetings, those kind of things. You can look here and see what the different roles are, teaching online certificate. So there is all the different areas of the professional development that are available just on the website that you can take a look at. So now what? I think there's kind of different layers of this. But I would say if you don't do anything but take this list and go back to your office and look through each one of those standards and go through your own course, I think we'll probably make some improvements. Y'all agree? I mean, I did. I was, thinking about different elements, and I'm like, oh yeah, I need to put that in there. And one of the things I also thought was interesting is they said it's over almost 80%, I think, of people who have an online course reviewed through the certification process, they use some of those elements in their face-to-face course, which is just another positive. But some of the things they learned about designing their online course, they then incorporated in their face-to-face course as well. So that was helpful. But if you don't do anything but take this back and go through your own course and make some changes, make some improvements, I think that's a step up. Now, what I would encourage you to do is to get the workbook and really go through it. And it's going to give you the information, because there may be some things on that standards, just reading in that brochure, that you may not understand exactly what they're talking about. So if you get the workbook and go through it, then I think you're going to be at a little bit higher level. If you get somebody in your department to look at it, I think that would be helpful. But I would encourage you also to schedule an appointment with Dr. King and let him do a review, and he's going to do it based on this. This is the Mississippi State quality standards for our online education. So that's what he's going to base it on when he does that. And if he sits down and works with you, or if he just reviews it and goes through it and gives you feedback, it's going to be based on this. So what I would encourage you to do is, before you give it to him to take a look at, maybe check it yourself first. Dr. King, let you tell about the training that we've got going on in the spring. What we kind of saw with this is that we would introduce it. This session today is to introduce the quality standards, to introduce quality matters to you, and then working closely with CTL, then they'll have follow-up things to get more down in the details, more of a workshop for you.
Thank you. Yeah, we're going to offer multiple workshops in the spring, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the 8 standards and I'm going to break them down. I don't know if I'm going to do 2 per session or what now. I think I'm going to do it 2 per session, and I'm going to review and go into detail about each one of these standards and how you can improve it in your course, what we're looking at. So we're going to break it down individually in the spring, so just keep your eyes and ears open for that. We'll announce it through the distance and through our social media at the CTL. But we just wanted to, like I said, hit individual standards, because it's sometimes when you look at it from a broad view, it's kind of hard to understand how they all build and align with one another. So I do want to show them one thing on the website. If you'll go to this website, and when you have time, click on membership if you don't mind, and then hit sign up. If you go to membership and sign up, you can register for free, your personal username, password, and what it'll do, it'll send an email to me saying validate that this person is an MSU faculty member, and then I'll double check and make sure you are. And what that does, since we're a paying member, it allows you to have free professional development to an extent, not some of the other courses that were listed out here, but they have really good Quality Matters sessions once a month about experiences in higher ed or even community colleges. I've found them very useful. Okay, I've signed on for a lot of these webinars, and they're not really good. As far as other providers, Quality Matters does a great job, and it also gives you access to the archive of prior webinars delivered. So I highly suggest you go in there, because it allows you to sign up for email announcements of professional development, and they're really good because you hear other faculty being interviewed and sharing their success stories or their challenges and how we can learn from them. So I do want to suggest you do that. So thanks.
Yes, that was another thing I was going to say. As members, we do get some of the benefits of that. So the next thing, attend some of the workshops in the spring to learn more about the details, and then enroll in one of the workshops. Kind of pay attention to what's going on there, enroll in some of those, get that extra information that Quality Matters does. And then ultimately you could submit a course for certification through Quality Matters. Now, there's a cost associated with that as well, but there may be one, for whatever reason, that you feel like having that Quality Matters certification would benefit you. A lot of the universities that I've talked to do kind of like what we're talking about doing. They use Quality Matters as their standard, and they review it internally. And on occasion, they may have courses being certified. We're not saying that every one of our courses on campus needs to go through that process. But what we want to do is kind of duplicate the rigor of that process here on our own campus. Would that be accurate? But that's kind of the process that what you can do. So with that, I'll open it up to questions. What are your thoughts about? Go ahead.
I'm just wondering how the review actually happens, either with Chris or with Quality Matters. Do you just give them access to your course website through Blackboard, or do you send Word documents, the materials, or how does that work?
Course.
You answer for your...
Yeah. You would have to have access to the course to see the discussions, the interactions, everything. So if it was me doing it here in the center, I've got an admin login through ITS, and I would, of course, get your permission first. And, of course, if you're coming to me, you more than likely won't be in the course anyway. So we go through there and we identify everything in the course.
Does the course have to be active enough to make
No, it doesn't. We can go back up to 18 months, until ITS purges it. So if you taught it 2 semesters ago, we could still go in and review it. Right. No. We had to see the future course? No, we had to see the interactions and everything inside the course. And we can do, I can review it for instructional design and how you've got it planned as far as the design, but this right here, the big part of it and the big part of the lawsuits going on is we got to see the interaction. It's a big thing that's often left out of our online courses is people thinking we can just throw the content out there and they take the test and that's it. So that's a huge part of Quality Matters is the interaction you have with your students in discussions and emails or journals, whatever it is.
How are we able to submit a course for review with FERPA requirements to just send a course like that to Quality Matters and let them look at those interactions?
From what I understand, they've gone through all that FERPA training, but they will come in as a guest lecturer and they won't have access to your grade book. So we can give them course observer and like course builder roles in your course, and they won't see any grades. So they could see the discussions and the students' names, but they won't see any grades tied to that student. So you'll be protected for FERPA on that.
One of the questions it asks in the course workbook is, has the course been offered at least twice? Because I think, one of the things they're saying is if it's your first time, there's always changes you're going to make. I mean, has anybody taught a course multiple times and it's exactly the same way it was when you first started? So having gone through it a couple of times, you've probably made some of those basic changes that you've caught. So I think that's kind of their, at least, recommendation that it's been taught a couple of times.
With the emphasis on interaction, is it more important to them that you have instructor-to-student interaction or student-to-student interaction, or both are important?
I think, they're going to look at all the three, the triangle of student to content, student to instructor, and student to student. So you're going to look at all of those. And they're, having access to the materials that they can see, the availability of it. The library part is a big component of it, which our library does a really good job of. Other questions? So you have an evaluation on there. If you'll give us some feedback, that'll be helpful. Our next Lunch and Learn is November 15th, and Karen Crow will be leading that one, right? And our marketing group, and we'll be talking about how to market your programs. We have got some great resources available to you and working with you, and so I hope you'll come back for that. And any other? Okay. The SACS policy for some fall afternoon reading is over here if you didn't get one and would like one. Also, I think Tracy mentioned last time about our studio. So we have an instructor studio. If you're getting ready to do your online course for the spring or whatever, and you're like, well, I don't have the technology to do all this stuff I want to do, you can reserve the studio through Tracy Craven and come up there, use it. Tracy, you want to comment on the equipment that's in there?
Yeah, absolutely. We've got dual monitors in there. We have a green screen for you if you're used to standing and teaching, and we can show you how to use all that. We have a recording studio quality microphone, so if you have any audio issues in your offices and you want to try it out, you definitely can. We have soundproofing in there, so hopefully you won't hear any of the outside sounds. I heard the weed eater go by a while ago, so things like that hopefully won't affect your teaching. But it's got Camtasia in there. We've got a couple of other video software programs in there, so you can do dual type video of both your PowerPoint or any kind of system that you're using, any software that you're showing, as well as yourself. And we are happy to help you with that right now. No one is scheduled to be in there, so get on the schedule and we'll be happy to help you. So thanks.
November 6th is National Distance Learning Week. So in your colleges, give a shout out to your distance learning students. We'll have a lot of things going on, so you can share and repost our things as well. So